Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I'm your host, Yalda Alawi, the founder of the Eat, Burn, Sleep protocol and app, a gut health and anti-inflammation platform which has helped thousands of people around the world reach optimal health levels physically and mentally. In this podcast, I invite various individuals with expertise to share to help you further educate yourself on wellness, physical and mental health. All aspects of health are connected, and I aim to educate you and teach you to tune into your body to become the best version of you inside and out. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Make sure to subscribe and rate it, share it with your friends, and most importantly, keep happy and healthy. Keep listening. I will be sharing a discount code with you at the end of this podcast for the Eat, Burn, Sleep platform memberships. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I'm so excited today to have an amazing founder join us, and we're going to be talking about skincare, one of my favorite topics. We have Kim Walls with us, who's the co-founder of Furtuna Skincare. She's also the CEO of that company and leads the product development for the brand. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you. I'm excited to be here today. I'm a huge fan of all your work.
You're so kind. Actually, we discovered each other on Instagram.
It's true. Modern media. Love it.
So, Kim, you are a beautiful, gorgeous, feminine woman and a complete nerd at heart.
Well, that's an honor. Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit more about your background, so you're in skincare. I know your dad founded a company as well. We spoke about that briefly during the live we did on Instagram. Tell us a bit more what brought you to found this beautiful skincare company and take interest in olive oil.
Oh, thank you. What a lovely question. So, as you said, yes, I was basically born into this industry. My father did found a company, and he actually came from a disease state. He had vitiligo, and so ended up founding a company from a medical perspective, but still a naturally oriented company. So I grew up starting putting on stickers on labels and label stickers on the bottles, and then went on to help formulate and grow new markets and do anything I could to help grow and learn within that industry. I became an esthetician, went to UC Santa Barbara, and then graduated from there, and then spent the next 20 plus years studying things like ethnobotany and biochemistry, nutrition, skincare, and really chase down all of these interests always within the field of skincare and nutrition to help develop a truly holistic perspective around how we care for our skin and our health. So starting from that medical perspective, working with doctors, estheticians, dermatologists, plastic surgeons, even in NICUs, working with new babies and their parents to help them understand that to create health and vitality through skin is really something that's a whole body approach that works to see wellness develop through all aspects, all different modalities, ultimately creating longevity, health, and vitality. That's truly the thing that makes skin the brightest and the best. And I founded several companies, BEV Organic, and co-founded Kelson, which is it was one of the first it is the first plastic-free hair care brand out there. And then met Agatha, who she and I founded this brand about 6 years ago and really only came to market about 3 years ago. But in meeting her, I felt like sort of all of my efforts, all of my dreams around what was possible in this industry could come true. She had has this incredible estate in Sicily. It's over 800 acres and has over 12,000 olive trees on it. 50 different ancient medicinal herbs that are used for healing in all different ways, and hundreds upon hundreds of olive trees, some of them thousands of years old. So there's this incredible opportunity to work with the land and partner with Agatha, where she brought her modeling expertise and her vision for really beauty, and then our aligned vision for health and wellness and how we could take this idea of regenerative agriculture and build a world of regenerative beauty on top of those principles, which we both care deeply about, because that's really kind of the key to reversing climate change and really improving overall health, kind of connecting the dots with generational poverty and farming methods and starvation. There's so much that can be done through regenerative agriculture for the world, and then so much that can be done through regenerative beauty for ourselves, and also to help get the messages of regenerative agriculture out there. So we you could say we started this brand the day we met, really. Like, it was just magic. And we started, and we haven't stopped. We've been at a dead run ever since, and I don't really see an end coming to it, because there's just so much we can do.
That sounds amazing. Well, I actually didn't know what regenerative agriculture was until I discovered your brand. I feel ashamed of saying this, but it's true. So could you explain to us a little bit what it is and what regenerative beauty means?
Yes, I would love to. Regenerative agriculture is, at its heart, most fundamentally, working in harmony with nature, farming in harmony with nature. So instead of things like tilling the soil and rows of crops and monoculture and using heavy loads of pesticides when an infestation may come in, instead of these practices where it's really all about dominating and conquering the earth to get what we want out of it, it's about working in harmony with it. So things like permaculture and planting different plants in communities where they thrive together. And some, for example, are better at defending against bacteria. Some are better at defending against fungus. You have taller plants that provide shade for plants that need shade, and shade plants or legumes, for example, that will help fix the soil so that those taller plants have more ability to get nutrients out of them. Essentially, it's about understanding the community of plants and the different factors that affect growth of plants, and even including, for example, livestock rotation. So bringing in livestock to give their manure to help fertilize. All of these things ultimately create soil health that supports biodiversity and nutrient density. So the foods that we are able to grow, we as a people of the world, under regenerative agricultural principles, what we're able to create is very, very nutrient dense, strong plants that have the ability to thrive and survive, and that are able to pass those nutrient contents on to us when we consume the food that we're given from this earth. And those same principles apply in beauty when it comes to kind of the silo of how do we affect our skin and create the greatest health. And some of the things, for example, that you talk about, like inflammation, that inflammation is coming and creating disease states from essentially abuse of the body. And some of that we can control and some of it we can't, right? Like if we're on the freeway driving down the road and we've got car pollution coming in the windows, there's not a ton we can do besides roll up the windows and get an air filter in the car. But then there are other things like the choices about what we eat. And for example, olive oil, which is such an important part of the Furtuna skin ethos and how we treat and care for skin. There are foods that we can eat that support the microbiome, that actively reduce inflammation, and all of these different aspects of treating the entire ecosystem, whether it's the soil or the human body, result in better outcomes.
Thanks so much, Kim, for clarifying. Indeed, I had looked into some organic farms where they didn't use any pesticides by doing exactly this, by using different plants and different livestock in different places where you create an ecosystem that doesn't allow parasites to come in and allows for plants to thrive. So probably I did know what it was. I just didn't have the name for it.
Yeah, it's a fairly new conversation, really, and it was named by a specific person really not that long ago. And the reason I think so many people are getting around it, from multinational food companies investing billions upon billions of dollars in converting farms, and brands like us, is that in investing in the clinical studies that, for example, show that our skincare works as well or better than clinical sort of hyper-focused vitamin C or ferulic acid. Like, when you take this comprehensive approach, Not only is it doing better things for our food supply and our bodies, but it's actually creating radical improvement in the climate, taking carbon out of the environment and fixing it into soil, and completely, we have the ability with regenerative agriculture to reverse climate change within our lifetimes. And a lot of people are sort of gathering around this idea. I think once something has a name like regenerative agriculture, it becomes easier for people to understand what it is and to start sharing those ideas because it has a name. And you can ask questions and, well, what is it? And how does it apply to me? And when we look at things like how each of us as individuals can participate in creating a healthier world, there are so many ways to do it. I'm helping someone right now found a brand called Provenance Made, which is about knives. And it's the handles of these knives are sourced from rare woods. 15% of the sale of every knife is donated back to the Nature Conservancy to support regenerative agricultural practices and to raise awareness around the things that we use every day, a kitchen knife, the tools that we use every day by these choices, whether it's the cleansing oil balm that we're launching at Furtuna Skin, the clothes that we're choosing to buy. We have the ability to shift things with how we spend our money. And the more people who understand regenerative agriculture, the more ability there is for us all to align through these healthy patterns and choices that can create meaningful shifts in the world. And in no way am I talking about skincare anymore. So I feel like maybe we should cut all of that out and get back to the point. It's up to you, your choice.
Yes, all of this is so relevant. I completely agree with you. And we can all do something about it. In fact, I was on holidays in Costa Rica recently with my children. We live in England, where unfortunately a lot of the hedges have been cut in the name of agriculture in the countryside. And as a result, you have a lot of vermin. You have so many foxes and magpies. And what I mean by vermin is there is an overpopulation which is destroying the other species. I'm half Moroccan. Same thing. We have problems with wild boar in Morocco, overpopulation for other reasons as well. So my children come from these cultures where there is hunting to control pests. So we were in Costa Rica on holidays where the ecosystem is absolutely perfect and has not been destroyed, touch wood, so far. And they don't have any vermin. We were going around looking at these beautiful sloths with this biologist, and my children start asking him what is there to kill in Costa Rica? And I could see the guy's face. I could see his face turn like green, and they kept going on. And I ended up, I had to interrupt and say, I'm so sorry. You come from a beautiful country where the ecosystem has not been damaged and you do not have vermin. These boys come from a culture where this is what's happening. But the reason why I'm saying this is I was explaining to my boys, I said, well, boys, it is your job whenever you own your home to add hedges so we have more songbirds. It is our job every minute to make a little effort, even at a small level. And for example, my eldest son is a teenager. He started taking interest in fashion, and he was sharing with me this website called Shein, where they have very, very fast fashion, and basically everything is made of viscose. It's plastic. He wanted to buy from there, and I said to him, no, Will, I want to spend on good quality clothes for you. So you buy less, and when you outgrow them, we give them to somebody, because this is just polluting the planet. It's polluting your skin, and it's destroying the weather, it's destroying the environment. So I think you are working on this on a bigger level with the purpose of your brand, but every single listener here can do their little bit. And indeed, when we hear things like what you've just said of climate change can be reversed, all the damage can be reversed within our lifetime, then we feel like we can take action. And I think that's fantastic.
Me too. Sense of agency. There's so much in this time where people are feeling dejected and powerless when it comes to so many different parts of life, from relationships to politics to food supply. Like there's a great weight that I feel our children are carrying, and like you, I want them to feel a sense of agency and power and recognize that every single one of us has the opportunity to make a shift. And when we all are able to see that, it will happen.
Absolutely. And something else you mentioned about your skincare being more effective than those made from synthetic substances. Well, as a nutritionist, I know that supplements, which are food based because of all the cofactors, are much better absorbed, and synthetic supplements are not as well absorbed by the body. People don't quite understand that, taking a product that comes from the earth will be better absorbed by the body and will have better effect than one made in a lab. But on that, you're going to enlighten us further. But before we get to that, I have a question. So much is happening in the skincare space. It's hard for the consumer to pick up. And I remember, the advice my mom gave me when I was a teenager. And I would love to hear from you, one of the experts out there. What is the difference between skincare today versus 20 or 30 years ago?
There are many aspects, many different things that have changed, not only in the skincare, but in the consumer and in the medical community and in the science and what we're able to understand. So when I started in this industry nearly 30 years ago, or maybe more at this point, people really treated the skin like a wrapper. And the whole conversation that everyone had was around barrier protection. And the most valuable thing that people thought you could do was essentially coat yourself in petroleum. that was really either injections or cutting or pharmaceuticals that maybe you take internally, or coat yourself in petroleum. And what we now understand is that the skin is a dynamic organ that is connected to, for example, our immune system, that is the first sign of challenges when it comes to exposure to allergens or things that might make us sensitive or damaging to our bodies. It has certain cells in it, T cells, a whole universe of sort of chemistry going on within the skin to alert the entire system, including the brain, like, be on alert, there's something bad here. So the skin itself is much better understood, and how skincare can address skin health, can improve skin health, is much better understood, but possibly you might say much better proven. So there are people from Cleopatra who used olive oil on her skin forever ago. I mean, granted, she also used coal, so she maybe isn't the best example. But what I'm saying is that we have these oral histories where we know that certain things are good for skin through time and performance over time. Now we're able to apply a layer of science and clinical testing and sort of the Western medical approach to prove it in a way that people are more likely, at least in this country, more likely to respect the sort of truth there and the health that is possible from things like natural plants. Exactly what you're saying, bioavailability, things like that. So there's this fundamental understanding of skin that's improved, and something that's very exciting to me is the consumer, the everyday person, the public's understanding of skin and skincare and ingredients has very, very dramatically improved. And I think social media for that. Granted, social media is also responsible for a lot of misinformation, but there are people like you out there who are ensuring people get valid and reliable information. And so with the people's education level, and they're essentially demanding more. They're demanding more of companies, they're demanding more of the medical community, they're demanding more of everyone to serve them better. And with that demand has come a response from the industry. So you've got companies putting out better products. And that to me is really exciting. So deeper understanding, more awareness, higher demand, and ultimately better products. And over the years, I've seen the industry, the skincare industry, respond to this demand in different ways. Sometimes it's with greenwashing and misinformation and miscommunication and really just lies. And sometimes it's been with true improvements. There are some beautiful brands out there putting out products that are truly made from high integrity with great transparency around their supply chain that are delivering results and high performance within the context of truth and mission and true concern for people's health. And I think that's really inspiring that those types of brands really didn't exist or weren't elevated to a point where they could make a difference. You've seen the industry, we have seen the industry shift from very large, like over 90%, sort of some of these multinational brands that are just cranking out products that's really all about marketing. The customers have greatly reduced the amount of brands that are in that category for their purchases and greatly increased the number of sort of indie, smaller, more transparent, higher integrity brands that they're buying and that they have access to thanks to e-commerce, really, and education. And so I think these things are all really very exciting. And the ability to participate and really to pioneer and lead the industry when it comes to pushing the envelope on regenerative practices, regenerative agriculture, and regenerative beauty. To me, it's a massive honor, and I'm really excited to be able to help do away with some of the greenwashing that's out there around terms that just don't mean anything that become very popular, like clean beauty. And I'm not saying clean beauty is bad. We are also a clean beauty brand. It just doesn't really mean much. And so where you have things like regenerative agriculture, there are criteria that have to be met and proof that has to be delivered so that customers don't have to wonder anymore.
It's the same with the term superfoods. They don't.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a superfood. It's a. In fact, if one food was meant to be a superfood, it'd probably be an egg because at least you get fat and protein. And
Eggs are my favorite food.
yeah, you could survive on those for a long time, but you definitely could not survive on goji berries. I can assure you that. But coming to foods, the brand Furtuna Skin is based on olive oil, which is produced in this farm in Sicily with very old trees. But olive oil has been used for centuries for beauty. I remember as a kid, we would do in Morocco hair masks with olive oil, and it's used in many things, for the skin. But if me here in London, in my apartment, what's going to be the difference for me if I slap some olive oil from my kitchen on my face versus using one of your products?
I love that question. So many, many differences, of course, but let's just start with olive oil and the different sort of levels of olive oil. So when you have olive oil, when a person has olive oil in their kitchen, it may or may not be extra virgin organic olive oil. And that's the first difference that's important to understand. Extra virgin organic olive oil is different from olive oil in many, many ways, specifically in level of processing, in available nutrients in it. When something is highly processed, like a typical olive oil, all those phytochemicals are pretty much killed off. And many other chemicals are created in that process that have the potential to create inflammation in the body. So something like an extra virgin organic olive oil has to go from pick to press, from the olive being picked to the press to create oil within 24 hours. And so anything that meets certain criteria like that one, plus certain levels of free acids, of sterols, these can all qualify as extra virgin organic olive oil. So the olive oil from the kitchen that most people have doesn't actually have a nutrient concentration in it that can support skin health. Things like sterols your body can use to build collagen and to enhance the skin barrier. Things like glycolipids, which are in olive oil, if they're there in their bioavailable form, which they are in extra virgin organic olive oil, the body can use those to enhance and heal at the cellular level so that it can hold on to hydration and moisture better and keep it in the body and distribute it through the body. So there's that fundamental difference. And then within the world of extra virgin organic olive oil, that is where transparency around farming, nutrient density, these other factors become much more critical to understand if you're seeking optimal health and when it comes to formulating for skincare. So, for example, the Furtuna Skin extra virgin organic olive oil used in our formulas and that we consume in our LXR06 product, we pick and then 6 hours later are pressing those olives. So there's no chance for any mold or fungus to develop. And you know how quickly those things can start. So if you have even 24 hours of olives sitting in a basket in a high moisture environment with the sun and shade and all of these factors that can moisture, that can facilitate growth, the purity of that olive oil won't be as clean. So to go from pick to press in 6 hours is huge. And the way that we process, so back to sort of some of these regenerative practices, using natural mineral spring waters from the mountains, no, all organic. The whole farm is certified by BioAgriCert, organic. All the different regenerative practices that create the nutrient density are protected and maintained in the pressing because of the length of time. They're hand-picked. So instead of using machines, we're hand-picking and teaching people on the farm, creating a circular economy where people are being educated and employed. In fact, the farm is now the largest private employer in its area, and that's a big deal for Sicily because it has over 50% unemployment rate. So this hand-picking creates jobs, but and enhances. Well, we'll talk about. We didn't talk about biodiversity. I do want to make sure we address that at some point. But when the olives are handpicked and pressed within 6 hours, then during the pressing, the levels of polyphenols are protected. The levels of sterols. There's very low free acid. So our olive oil, our extra virgin organic olive oil, has 3.4 times lower levels of free acids, which is a good thing. It has much higher levels of the essential fatty acids that we do want, like oleic acid. And it has much higher levels of the polyphenols, the oleoropine, oleocanthal, the ingredients or the constituents within the olive oil that the body can use to create health and to reverse genetic damage and to maintain and protect genetic health. These materials are held within the Furtuna Skin extra virgin organic olive oil and transferred to the skin, not only with themselves as an active ingredient, because the Furtuna Skin products have extra virgin organic olive oil as a base instead of something like petroleum from eons ago, and olive leaf water. So the water-soluble nutrients and the oil-soluble nutrients are being brought into active ingredients and then blended together to create different formulas that have optimal levels of specific macronutrients, vitamins, minerals to drive outcomes that we're looking for skin, whether it's wrinkle reduction or evening of skin tone, addressing pore size, dry, dehydrated skin. We're able to address these different issues by having incredibly potent, wildly potent nutrients within the formulas that then are transferred to the face or the body or both at home and being used. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Amazing.
Okay.
This is so fascinating because, the thing with nature is no two items are made equal. So here you're describing how the olives are being processed and within 6 hours, so the mold doesn't grow. And as a nutritionist, I often get questions like, is this good or bad for you? And I always say I don't have an answer to this because it depends what we're talking about. For example, people say to me, are potatoes good or bad for you? I'm like, well, if you talk about a big potato, that's really starchy and has a high glycemic index. If you're buying new potatoes in season, they're small, waxy, they will not feed candida in your gut as much. They're not going to spike your blood sugar levels. But those are potatoes and potatoes. And you've just described olive oil and olive oil.
It's exactly the same. You're completely right.
We can't, that is the thing. Nowadays, we cannot fully outsource health, whether it's the health of your microbiome, of your skin. Everyone has to do research because there's not going to be a single person who's going to tell you, okay, just do that. You have to understand what you're consuming, where it comes from, how it's been processed, how it's been transported. All these things make such a huge difference in the absorption of nutrients as well. For example, you eat strawberries and they don't have taste, and you eat strawberries, they're very tasty. When they're very tasty, they're much higher in nutrients. And why are they tasty? Because they're probably in season and they haven't been picked early. And all these things matter, and exactly the same as the olive oil in your products, but obviously that the consumer cannot taste and needs an expert like you to to obviously package it and ensure that it is of high quality and consequently potent. Kim, as a skin health expert, what would be your advice in terms of skincare routine for someone who's 20 years old, 30 years old, 40, 50? What would you advise in general to do and to avoid?
There are fundamental needs of skin that, regardless of age, need to be met. Just like in nutrition, there are sort of fundamental building blocks that must be met. And when we think about what those are for skin, it's truly very closely aligned with the conversation that you have around nutrition. So the skin needs to be given high nutrient density in whatever is put on it. From a practical perspective, the skin must be cleansed. It needs to be clean. And moving beyond cleansing, it needs to have a gentle exfoliant. And I'm going to lay the groundwork here and then speak to how it's addressed at each age. So every so often, it needs help facilitating the dismissal, let's say, of dead skin cells and things that are in the skin that have built up over time that it's not fully getting rid of on its own. We can accelerate and help that with a healthy exfoliant. And then it needs to be treated for whatever skin concern someone might have. People's skin changes. The same person's skin will behave differently in the morning and in the evening. It will behave differently depending upon what they've eaten that day or how well they slept or whether or not they're stressed out or mad at their child or what have you. So that next step after cleansing, and if exfoliating has happened, which only should be once or twice a week, is to address whatever is uniquely needed by the skin that in that moment, and learning and understanding how to identify what that is, listening to the body. And then there's barrier protection and sun protection. So barrier protection and sun protection are kind of the same thing, in that what we're protecting the barrier against or from is sun damage. So really making sure that the hydration is kept, that the skin is not losing too much water through transepidermal water loss, that it is given something to help it, if needed, protect against environmental damage. And that can be blue light, it can be UV, it can be pollution. And if you're in Hawaii or Sicily, it can be fog from the volcanoes, sort of everything that's out there, which again is unique to a person. So going through the ages again, when someone we'll kind of go from 20 to 50 and skip the middle just to illustrate this point. When someone is 20, their cells are probably replenishing themselves every 26, 27, 28 days. When someone is 50, it could be 40, 45 days. So exfoliation is going to be more valuable, more regular exfoliation is going to be more valuable to someone whose skin is slowing down in that department. When it comes to hydration, at the cellular level, it really doesn't matter. If your cells aren't working properly to hold on to moisture, like high glycolipid content and really the nutrients the hyaluronic acid that the skin produces itself, in your 20s, your skin's probably producing all those things very actively. By the time you're in your 50s, it's not producing as much collagen. It's not producing as much hyaluronic acid. So we want to supplement as we age. And it's why you end up with more products as you age. It's not some sort of marketing tactic. It's what does the body need? So when someone is in their 20s, what I would recommend for them is really just a simple two-step system with our products. With other brand products that aren't multi-beneficial within a single product, you might need more. But when it comes to Furtuna Skin, for example, we have a cleansing oil balm and then our bi-phase moisturizing oil. And just those two products are going to provide a fully balanced nutrition for the skin and take care of all the things that we just talked about, from protection to barrier, from hydration to barrier protection to proper cleansing, and even exfoliant. So with the cleansing oil balm, which is our latest product, that is massaged into the skin. It's a double cleanse where it turns from a balm to an oil to a milky olive leaf lather. And the person who's using that cleanser can really get a lot out of it. And as they remove it with a gentle towel, for example, they can be doing a manual exfoliation. Whereas if you want, with the towel itself, the work with your hands is what provides that exfoliation. Whereas as someone is aging, maybe into their 30s and 40s, they might want a little bit more. They might want to get into an enzyme exfoliant or something with olive pits, or different types of more, we'll call them aggressive, but not aggressive because they're harmful, just more, they're just more, just stronger. Someone in their 30s is generally, very often they're in a time of life where, this is for sure not true for everybody, but they're very, very busy. Maybe they've got kids. Maybe they're just getting their career off the ground. Maybe they're dating a lot or just got married. Like there's this sort of a lack of self-care that I see happening for people in their 30s, especially women. And so just they'll start integrating things like masks. Like, okay, on Sunday, I'm going to give myself a rest. I'm going to get a babysitter. I'm going to take the day off work. I'm going to shut down my phone, digital detox, whatever it is. So they'll start doing special things for themselves. And I think that's really great. In the 40s, so what I'm saying is you can go from 2 steps to maybe 3 or 4 steps with a lot more sort of special event, we'd call it, within skincare in the 30s. The 40s is when hormones change very meaningfully in women, very, very meaningfully. Perimenopause generally starts 45, 46, 47. And with those hormonal changes, women see the collagen production, people see the collagen production go down pretty dramatically in their skin. And those things that we were talking about, like the production of hyaluronic acid, the production of collagen, it starts to get very visible. People tend to look in the mirror and they're like, what? A year ago, I didn't have all these. What is this? So you're looking at whatever it is that's bothering them about their face. Maybe there's some damage that's starting to come out, or there are fine lines around their eyes, whatever is bothering them. And so they tend to start going to doctors more. What do I do about this? And their routines can get very complicated. And they'll generally experiment a lot with all kinds of different products. And I think that's a mistake, because the more random things we throw at our face, the more likely it is to become sensitive. And there's a lot of misinformation and quick fix conversations out there. And I'm here to say there is no quick fix. This is the long-term game. Like, give yourself the nutrition, get your rest, get your sleep, hydrate properly, and make sure you're using really, really good nutrient-dense products. That's the fix. And that's a lifetime of work. And it can start, and the changes people see when they shift into this sort of more lifestyle approach to skincare, it happens very quickly. Within days, people can see a difference, and within weeks, it's kind of miraculous. And after a couple of years of living this way, people look younger. And that's where you get into the genetics and what's really going on between chronological age and genetic age, and how we actually can reverse time from a genetic perspective and really transform how we look. And so I see a lot of 40 and 50-year-old people getting into this approach to health and skincare and looking younger than they did in their late 30s. And that to me is that's cool. I think that's very exciting. And when it comes to Furtuna Skin, just as an example, we've been talking a lot about personalization and how the body changes, same body, different bodies. Jess and I, Jess does all product development at Furtuna Skin. She's the lead of our formula team there. And she and I sat down for a long time, probably about a month, putting together a quiz that would truly help people understand what is the 1 or 2 best products from Furtuna Skin that I should start with for my concerns and my needs. And we went through it from the medical, from the clinical, from the esthetician, from the nutritional, like really filtered in all of the criteria and parameters that we could to help people understand as well as you can without a personal consult through this quiz. So that's what I really recommend, is to take the quiz at fortunaskin.com and get that recommendation and try just 1 or maybe 2 products to see, and for yourself, like what that difference is when you're really addressing health holistically.
It does make such a difference to the skin. I completely agree with you about genes and gene expression and reversing damage. Of course, your products are anti-inflammatory, and that's why you're seeing these results. I can share a personal story. When I was during my years of battling health issues, I went to this this health retreat in Thailand called Chivasom, where there is, I mean, I went there for rest, and I would go there like once a year, and they have a skin clinic. So as part of the package, when you go there, you have your food, you get a massage a day, and you get a free skin consultation. So of course I went for the skin consultation, and they put your face in the machine, that analyzes the wrinkles and pigmentation and all of that. And I don't know if all machines do this, but theirs would give you your skin age. Okay, so I went, and they told me, "Oh, you have great skin." I'm like, "Thanks so much," you know, giving you compliments. And that was, I think, this was 2013. After I had hemolytic anemia, I had gone through so much and a lot of medical treatment. I went back in 2016. So I was 3 years older, and I put my face in the machine again, and they had the record from my last day, and they couldn't believe that the machine gave a younger age, and they said, "You have more collagen. What have you done?" What I had done is improve my lifestyle and reduce inflammation, skin being the biggest organ. It shows. So if you put the right products on your skin, in your body, as you said, get the right sleep, you can reverse a lot of the damage. And in fact, I'm saying all of this, I'm telling myself this because at the moment I'm working so hard that I'm actually neglecting my skin and reminding myself I'm going to have to go back to my little routines, but it does work. We do see a difference.
It's amazing.
So, Kim, I have one last question for you. What are the new products you have that you're really excited about?
The cleansing oil balm. It's brand new. I'm so excited about it. Our Biphase moisturizing oil is our best seller. It's our hero. It's the most loved by celebrities and skincare professionals, the most talked about. My personal favorite is the replenishing balm. I use it every single night as a night mask. It's part of my sleep ritual and how I help signal my body to raise melatonin and to go into that cycle. So I very much love the replenishing balm. But the cleansing oil balm, which is brand new, just launched this month, is has been an incredible opportunity to really speak to some of those value points that we talk about and care about as a brand around regeneration and advocacy and living true with your visions and how you treat your body. And that's because it's a double cleanse. So it's a triple texture. It goes from a balm to an oil to that foamy olive leaf lather. We kind of mentioned that before. And within these three textures, the person who's using the product gets a double cleanse. And there's a word play there for us where we're saying it's time to double down on cleansing. So we're getting to have conversations around our body burdens and the toxic loads that they're carrying and the environments that we're in, and saying it's a single cleanse is no longer enough. It's time to double down on your cleansing as your body is working to keep itself healthy and vibrant in the environments that we live in. And the other aspect of that with the wordplay is double or nothing. Like if we don't address some of these bigger issues, especially when it comes to things like regenerative agriculture, we're kind of heading into a land of nothing. And so let's really focus on how we can be proactive. And it's sometimes it feels silly to say, but can a cleansing oil balm help reverse climate change? The answer is actually yes, at scale, and when paired with lots of other choices that work along that same line of thinking. So it not only does it work incredibly well, it doesn't damage the skin barrier at all. And in fact, in line with our idea about radical improvement, the clinical testing that we've done on it and the consumer studies have shown that it actually improves skin barrier health, which is a radical change for a cleanser. Cleansers are generally drying and dehydrating, and they leave a tacky feeling on the skin from an oil that's going to create a barrier that then prevents other active ingredients from coming in. There are all these downsides with various cleansers, and we really wanted to address all of them with the cleansing oil balm. So it has, of course, our olive oil and our olive leaf water in it, but then also using surfactants originating from Chile, soap bark and soapwort, which are ancient surfactants that are incredibly gentle on skin. We activate those with our olive leaf water to get a full removal of bake-up, debris, dead skin cells, all the things that come out. And then it rinses away or wipes away at the end when it's in its water phase with the lather. So the surfactants are incredibly gentle, and the feeling of the skin after using it is so soft and so silky, which is just something I've never experienced with a cleanser before. We have people and that's coming from fermented manna, which is from the ash tree in Sicily, harvested in the summers, sustainably, of course. And that ingredient I haven't used it before, prior formulations. It's new to me in this one. And what it does for skin is just enchanting. So you get this beautiful, plump, hydrated skin after a cleanse. And most people are really feeling sort of dry and almost a little irritated after a cleanse. So to be able to shift that experience and let people have a massage and then come away with beautifully hydrated skin that has a solid barrier on it, it's been really fun to talk about in a lot of different ways. Thank you for asking.
You've sold it to me. I want to try it now.
We'll send it to you.
Actually, I've been actively avoiding cleansers that dry the skin because I have skin that's prone to be dry. But also, when I wear makeup, I like to double cleanse. So, yes, I look forward to trying it.
That's wonderful. I look forward to hearing your feedback.
Kim, thanks so much for your time. I've really enjoyed chatting with you today. I hope everyone's enjoyed listening. We can find all the beautiful products on your website, which I will link in the description box. And I will be, tagging you on Instagram if people want to follow you. But what is your Instagram handle?
Furtuna Skin at Furtuna Skin is that, and then my personal handle is Kim Wells LA.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thanks to all our listeners for joining us today.
Thank you so very much for having me on. It's amazing to speak with you always. I love your perspective and how truly and deeply aligned we are in thinking about inflammation and health. It's wonderful to be able to chat with you and to get to meet more of the people who pay attention to your messages.
Thank you for listening to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to share it and to subscribe. If you are ready to become the best version of you, use the code PODCAST15, PODCAST15 for 15% discount on the Eat, Burn, Sleep memberships. Available on eatburnsleep.com.